prove that the IRS is targeting you? I mean, it's not, I mean, they said sorry, but are they willing to say who the groups were exactly that they were targeting and how they were targeting them?
That's highly unlikely. I mean, absent them specifically pointing out a particular entity that they targeted, the only way you can really prove it is through circumstantial evidence. And the circumstantial evidence usually consists of the type of questions they ask, whether or not those are within the realm of what would be reasonable to expect, and whether or not those go beyond that to areas that are prohibited or protected, areas that they have no business inquiring about.
All right. Did you guys run into that at the Curtis Coleman Institute?
Actually, we have had a long journey here and have yet to receive our exemption letter, but the response that we did get to our application was, initial response was relatively modest. We had 1 page of questions. The specific questions were dealing with things like the Madison group. We originally had this concept of Madison groups which would hold not people accountable, but elected officials would be praised for taking constitutional stands and would be pointed out when they didn't. And that was a great concept, but it turned out it just didn't work in practice, so it really never got off the ground. But they had some questions about that. They had some questions about the financial arrangements of Mr. Coleman, and we were selling the 5,000-Year Leap book, and they had some questions about that process. But generally, stuff that I wasn't too surprised that they came back on. They particularly wanted to make sure that the website pages that they reproduced in their request for information was the website for the Institute, which was no problem, and it was. So we responded to those questions and felt like they came back with a very few minor things after that. So I didn't feel like we got particularly hassled.
Okay, but you still have had all kinds of problems getting your status, correct?
Well, some of that is systemic just in the process, but yes, we have had problems. Number one, it's just the time that it takes. There's a huge backlog, I guess. I mean, it seems like that they just can't get to it. When I've tried to get a hold of the agent that's working on the case, always you have to leave a message. There's no email access. You can fax them a letter. You can call and leave a message on their voicemail. And then in one case, a month went by without any response whatsoever. Of course, when they submit a request for information, you've got maybe 2 weeks or less to respond back to them. Or
of course, it's the government asking.
Right. But that's been frustrating. We've also had an issue and it's been somewhat publicized regarding a revocation of our tax-exempt status. And I can go into the details of that if you like. But basically, we had an administrative screw-up on our part, and the paperwork didn't get filed properly. They published a revocation of our tax-exempt status effective February 15th, but the information we're getting from the IRS is that our determination letter will be effective February 15th. So
the same day.
The same day, yeah. So it's just, at this point, the application is undergoing a second level of review. The primary reviewer has passed it along. She told me that it was with a favorable recommendation, and the revocation was a prerequisite to the issuance of the determination letter, and that happened on April 22nd. So we're 3 weeks into that process. So hopefully we'll get our determination letter here quickly.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back after I tell everybody about Better Bath, and we have the traffic. Better Bath, custom bathroom remodeling company. They have a new showroom, which is located inside the Walmart Supercenter right there on Bowman and Chenal. Remember, everything that they make their bathrooms with is made in the USA. It's maintenance-free. That means, with tile, granite, and natural stone, you get the hassle of grout. No grout with their Better Bath style. That means it's easy to clean, it's mold and mildew resistant, so whoever cleans out the shower is going to love you for that. They can do a tub-to-shower conversion in no more than 1 day. They can do a walk-in whirlpool and soaker tub as well in just the same amount of short time. And right now, the Better Bath offering $500 off of a bathroom remodel. That's the Better Bath. Super quality, super fast. Call 868-9000, 868-9000. Traffic and weather every 10 minutes on the nines. Off we go to Chris Counts. We'll be back in a moment, and we'll talk to John for a few more moments here on the Dave Elswick Show. Institute. That's John Lessel. And John, back to this discussion here. I know there's been a lot of questions. There's blogging and all kinds of stuff dealing with the Institute and their non-tax status and all of that. The folks that gave money with the understanding that they could write this off on their taxes and stuff, is that going to carry through for them?
Yes. If you think about what happened, the revocation of the tax-exempt status presumes that you have a tax-exempt status.
Okay.
And it's effective on a certain date. So up to that date, then we were tax-exempt. The filing of the Form 1023, which grants you your determination letter, isn't even required for some types of organizations. For example, churches don't have to file that 1023, and they're still tax-exempt. The tax exemption is set out in the statute, the Internal Revenue Code. The determination letter is just a way that the IRS gives their stamp of approval to your organization, both in its organizational documents and in its operations, that you fall within the parameters of the 501c3.
So the bottom line is you all had all the powers of a 501c. All that had not happened is that the IRS had stamped your paperwork, so to speak.
That's correct. That's correct. And because we've been advised that our determination letter will be effective as of February 15th, then there's really no gap.
Yeah, because when they revoked, it was the 15th. When it came through, it was the 15th, so it was seamless.
Yeah, exactly. So I will tell you this: we are, holding off soliciting donations while we get our determination letter back to the 15th of February, just so that there is no potential problem in the interim. But we fully expect that that's going to happen and move forward on that basis.
Okay, now you said, and we were during the break, you made the statement that what the IRS had done is attacked the 501(c)(3) groups, not C groups for the most part. So explain the difference between the two.
All right. We applied under 501c3. 501c3 is a publicly supported charity. Also, private foundations fall in there, but we applied under a publicly supported charity exemption. And what's getting all the attention are 501c4 organizations, and those are what are called social welfare organizations. The big difference between the C3 and the C4 is that your contributions to the 501c3 are tax deductible.
Okay.
Contributions to 501c4 are not. The entity itself remains tax exempt. It doesn't have to pay any income tax, federal and in most states, state. But the contributions that one makes to it are not charitable deductions. Now, there might be a basis for deduction for business expense or something along those lines, but in terms of it being a charitable deduction, 501c4 organizations do not have that benefit, whereas 501c3 organizations do, and that's what we applied under.
As a lawyer, let me just ask this last question. We got 30 seconds. What the IRS was up to has a definite chilling effect, does it not?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it undermines the fundamental contract between taxpayers and the IRS, that each taxpayer will be treated fairly and objectively and without any prejudice or bias. And that is undermined by what's happened.
All right. I appreciate you coming in.
My pleasure.
Boy, he came in loaded. He had all the paperwork here. John Lessel is our guest. He's the attorney for the Curtis Coleman Institute. Just letting you know that everything is upstanding with that, as well as, the whole thing with what the IRS has been up to, maybe a little bit on their side, but not as quite as much as what the E's were getting as far as that's concerned. All right, we'll do our traffic.